Bhatnagar is there, we have to look beyond this. Having learned those things for these two rivers, Assi and Varuna, in coming years, what are the expectations from us as research institution or as concerned citizens? So, we will be talking about some of the challenges at present in River Gomati, River Saryu, River Tapti, River Ganga, and River Hindan. If we have to do something, if we are expected to do some research, we have to create some basic data for scientific design, how we should move forward. And then finally, Professor Tare himself, I have requested him that how these great many people who are associated with us, they are our strength. We are spread all across the country and beyond the boundaries, and we have many institutions with us who are working in the area of rivers, river quality restoration. So how their roles can be earmarked. IIT's system, IIT BHU is there, an associated technical research institution, Ganga, Ministry of Jal Shakti, NMCG, CPCB and Uttar Pradesh Pollution Control Board, Department of Irrigation, Municipal Corporation of Varanasi, and along with us there is this WRG 2030 group, World Bank team, and other financial institutions who are representing their bodies here. So, what kind of role each one of us should have? So, that is the expectation from this session. And now, whether Professor Dr. Prithvish Nag sir is there? Dr. Nag, are you there? Could you join? Professor Shankar, Professor H.S. Shankar, are you there? Professor Shankar, I feel he is in the other session, he was there. I do not know whether there is some challenge with him or what. So let us go ahead with that. So I invite Professor Venkatesh to summarize what he has got, the feedback and the recommendation from his group in River Varuna in hydrogeology area. Over to you, Professor Venkatesh.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this chance to summarize the deliberations from my session. So what I'll do, I'll try to, bring a common thread across the various, ideas. So I have put it together. Let me pull it here. Yeah. So if you allow, I could share as well. No. So is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the major takeaways from my session on Varuna River. So I have tried to put it under 8 headings. The first point, which came very strongly across all the thematic areas, was that the rivers, especially the smaller order tributaries, they should be regarded as living systems or the ecological systems, and all the restoration efforts must take this into account. Number two, any riverfront development projects should be based only upon ecological designs. This was also pointed out by the DG of Namami Gange. And that too, it should be done on a very small stretch. The natural banks of the river should be protected. Thirdly, there is an urgent need to protect the lakes, ponds, paleo channels, and all the natural depressions in the upstream stretch of the Varuna river, so that flows in the main channel could be improved, obviously through subsurface flow, because the base flow would improve and that will come to the main channel. And it was also pointed out that some 450 square kilometer of land could be earmarked for ecological purposes and processes, which will help in recharging of the groundwater. And it was pointed out that there are more than 1500 water bodies, especially ponds and lakes and tanks, which must be restored. Thirdly, all the paleo channels and water bodies should be physically demarcated by the land revenue department. This is very important. If we don't do it, we lose them, because these are the areas which are very prone to commercial and real estate developments, and many of the state highways and other uh, settlements are coming up, and they may destroy these very active source of water to the Varuna river. And very importantly, regarding water augmentation, I made this proposal, and also it was vouched by Niranjan ji in his presentation, that there is a need to augment the flow in the main channel of the Varuna river, because there is a drastic reduction in the discharge. I had shown in my slides when we calculated the E flows, desirable environmental flows, that there is so much of reduction in the uh, discharge if you compare the data from 2003 to 2014. So even in the monsoon season, river is not having enough water. So there is also some disturbance in the rainfall runoff dynamics. So there is a proposal to release around 150 cusecs of water from a escape channel which connects to this pump canal, the Gyanpur pump canal, and this water can be released into the Varna river so that minimum flows can be ensured. So I would request this committee could, write separately with all these recommendations to the irrigation department, and they would work upon this. Next point was that the nature-based solutions should be promoted, and all the wastewater should be treated near the origin of the source. This is very important because there is a huge cost of conveyance and the wastewater infrastructure. So, and this point is also related that there is a need to have innovative in situ solutions. That means the wastewater should be treated at the source. Instead of developing costly STPs with massive collection system infrastructure, there is a need for decentralized wastewater treatment system. One point was made by the speaker that we do not take into account the life cycle cost of STP. We just in the beginning we take the capital cost, and we don't talk about so much on operation and maintenance cost. And these STPs, they do not run properly in absence of proper O&M cost allocations. And lastly, when the projects are coming, such as expressways, roads, and highways, and other development projects, they do not take into account the blue landscape, the water landscape, or the connectivity and the connected landscape, and the entire watershed could be negatively affected. So providing simple culverts, when you have the road, you could just, if you allow the integrity of the watershed simply by designing a culvert, which would allow the runoff to come to the channel, and the river could perform the various processes, right? So these are the these were the major takeaways from my session. And we also agreed that if we release the fresh water back into the Varuna river, then there's this old barrage is there, Purana Pul, and it is just upstream of the confluence where the Varuna is meeting the Ganges. And if we regulate that, that barrage, and at least 1 meter to 1.2 meter of water could be allowed in the first 55-kilometer stretch before the confluence of Morba and Basui River, then within 5 to 6 years, the shallow groundwater would improve, the storage of the aquifers would improve, and the connectivity of the surface water and groundwater, which is very important for this groundwater fed river, would improve. The base flow index of this river is around 78 to 80%. That means 80% of water is coming from the groundwater, and now this river has become a losing river stream. So whatever water is coming for few monsoon months, it is also going to recharge the the thirsty aquifers, which is like wanting more water, because shallow water, because of the deep bore wells and the intense agriculture in the catchment of the Varuna river, the base flow connectivity has been disturbed, and due to that, this perennial river has become seasonal river. So these were some of the propositions from my session, and I am I think that if we could talk further on these takeaways, and if there are areas which I have missed, then you could add further. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Venkatesh. I will request all the participants who were there as a part of discussion in River Varuna group under hydrogeology area, if they have some additional thought still left, or they can always send a write up to Professor Venkatesh or me. We are going to prepare and finalize a 10-point Varanasi declaration on river health restoration. So these thoughts we will be summarizing and putting across and sharing with you. So anyone who missed that discussion, we are still open, and you are most welcome to give your points. And Professor Venkatesh will take care of that, and we will be trying to finalize it sooner. So with that note, thank you very much, Professor Venkatesh. Let us keep working, and we will come up with a good step-wise action program. And yes, now here's the time. Dr. Atya, are you there? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Thank
Yeah,
you.
please. So
Yeah.
your thoughts and your some conclusive remarks. Yeah.
Right. So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm summarizing what discussions we had on the environment technology group. And based on all the presentations that we have, we need to divide our efforts into two phases. One is what we can do immediately, and another is what we should be planning towards in the next few coming years. For example, when a speaker says that we should aim for zero discharge into the rivers, no treated water, no sewage, no nothing. So then to actually achieve that will take a lot of planning and a different kind of effort. So we should plan to put these kind of ideas into phase two. And phase one, what we can start with is what we can implement directly or right away into the treatment. And I agree with Dr. Venkatesh that decentralized wastewater treatments are the need of the hour actually. So we have so many STPs, and everybody knows that how well or how properly they are being operated or functional. So Dr. Tagore had told us that there are so many, drains along the Varuna that are planning to be tapped into, taking into STPs. So on one hand, while I agree that it is a very good idea, but we have no guarantee how long and how much, with what efficiency those STPs are going to be functioning over a period of a year, beyond that. So then we have no clue, that how much of effort you put all your effort, or you do not put your effort into this direction, but then when you see it goes into the STP, and after a year we should not come back to ground zero. Then you're just delaying all the options. So, what was discussed in our group, some of the ideas for rejuvenation of Varuna was restoration. One is a restoration of the catchment areas and the tributaries. Uh, the remediation of the tributaries that are coming into the Varuna using constructed wetlands. I think overall, most of the biological treatment revolves around constructed wetlands in different permutations and combinations. Each person has a different version of a constructed wetland. We saw Professor Shankar, who was using more like a phytorid, like uh, taking the untreated sewage and then using it, holding it in a tank and then using it for irrigation. We saw some who were directly using cordoning of or suggesting that we divert the river and construct, the use the land for creating constructed wetlands. For example, uh, a village was named like Sota village, which is a channel of Gangaji, and that is somehow only comes into importance when Gangaji is in the flood area, but rest of the year it remains as a dry place. And it was suggested that such kind of available land be used to create your constructed wetlands. We also had suggestions of creating like biodiversity parks, desilting the river. But what I would say is that we need to target the drains that are emptying into the river. So we have different in situ drain treatment technologies, so they can directly be implemented wherever the drains are entering the rivers, so that there is a treatment. There is already, from zero to some level of treatment. Achieving the new CPCB norms is, it's a little difficult with natural attenuation systems, but a number of people had many suggestions to change that also. We had a speaker from the CSE who also gave a very good suggestion that we should not only be focusing on the end of the pipe technologies, but the whole concept of sewage treatment should be looked at from the source. Then you can have these community toilets was one suggestion, where you do not allow the sewage to just be connected into any channel by a drain into the river or its tributaries, but divert it and use into agriculture. But again, when we say divert it and use into agriculture, uh, there is a different water quality that we cannot ignore. So those kind of treatments then should be in place. If we are going to use this for agriculture, the treatment processes, the water quality needs to be really looked at, especially your biological count, your pathogens and your bacterial count, because most of these methods, including constructed wetlands and the in situ, any biological treatment, is very difficult to remove the bacterial load. You can reduce the factor by a few logs, but it is not really possible, without any, say, chlorination or radiation, that you can keep that level of water quality. So that is something that actually needs discussion before we can recommend that the water should be used into agriculture. And one very important point that came up was that in India, where the economy of even the water, we do not even recover the cost of water supply. So then cost of sewage treatment is extremely challenging. So that is something, that cost factor also is something that we need to put into thing. Awareness, people's awareness is something that I have always been saying. So until we involve the nearby citizens right from the beginning, into what we want to do and why we want to clean up these rivers, Until then, whatever technologies you put, if they are not being accepted by the surrounding population, then they will always be, like dumping of solid waste into your treatments. Your treatments could fail, there would be choking, there would be theft. So awareness and responsibility sharing with the local citizens is something that is an extremely important factor. Professor Shankar had suggested a very interesting concept where he said that you need to pump water from the Ganga into Varuna and Assi. So, by dilution, I guess there is also one treatment process. You're diluting out the BOD and allowing basically that river to flow. Then again, there was a question raised on how much time will this take, how much volume of water you need to pump out. So what we got yesterday, I would say, Dr. Singh, is that we got a lot of fantastic ideas, and everybody has used, spoken about what they have applied. But when we want to actually apply, we need to do a reality ground check, is what I would like to say. The cost involved, the people involved, the what should I say, the deliverables to the community at large, not only to Gangaji, but to the people living and depending on the Gangaji. So there are so many factors that we need to do, but we can start, right away with these biological interventions of in situ drain treatments and constructed wetlands. And yes, there was another point about groundwater. There's so much of extraction of groundwater because of all these construction activities. So all these treated water could be used to recharge the groundwater levels instead of dumping them into the rivers. So that's all I summarized from yesterday's discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Atya. Yes, Dr. V.K. Mishra. Dr. Mishra, are you here? Or Professor U.N. Rai, sir? Professor U.N. Rai. Dr. V.K. Mishra. Dr. V.K. Mishra, have you joined? If not, Professor U.N. Rai, sir. Professor Rai. Professor Rai, are you there? We will be collecting the kind of recommendation from their group, the biological or this phytoremediation approach of treatment. This is very interesting area, and many researches are going on. Yes, Dr. Rai, you are visible to me.
Yes, sir.
Do you have
Actually,
any,
I have made my presentation there.
Yeah.
But in brief, I would like to summarize that. Actually, we have suggested to develop constructed wetland at Sankat Mochan site. Our idea is to divert the water because the land is also available. So develop a stagnant pond which can be later used as a bathing ghat also as proposed by you. So we will renovate that pond with development of constructed wetland, and side by side we can also use the bacterial consortium and the enzymes which can degrade the organic pollutant of the water. And secondly, we have also proposed to recharge the groundwater by these three STP after renovation by the constructed wetland, because the STP treated water is not very fit for the groundwater recharging or augmenting the base flow of the river. So we have to renovate again at tertiary level by developing a constructed wetland at these 3 STPs. And uh, by adding the Ganga water by the Gyanpur Canal also into the Assi River, because it has been naturally happening when the Assi River meets at Assi Ghat. During the flood season, the Ganga water goes into the Assi River. We have seen it is all flooded with the Ganga water, and that adds to the water purification of the system. So we can also add the Ganga water from Gyanpur Canal into the Assi River. So these are the some points we have suggested. Although other partners like Professor Raghuvanshi, Professor Kavita Shah, B.K. Mishra, they were not present, so we could not find out the inputs from those.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Rai. I will request you to kindly, if you have access to them, you are still, we are open, and we will expect a kind of one-page note from you, whatever
Yes,
the recommendations.
that I will give you, sir.
So we will be working on that in consultation once again, and refining, and then finally preparing the line of action for that. Thank you very much. So nice of you.
Sir, if you permit, one of my colleagues, Shri B.K. Jha is here. He would like to say something.
Yeah, we are here to summarize now. So if he has some missing point, then fine. Otherwise, you can incorporate his suggestions. You can incorporate his suggestions, and we will take it forward. Yeah, Jha Sahab, Dr. Jha, are you here? If you have some addition to make, you are welcome. Your voice is not clear. The internet connectivity problem. Your voice is not clear, sir. So possibly Professor Rai Sahab will collect your ideas and then summarize in that write-up. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, Jha Sahab. Yes. Jha Sahab, it is difficult for us to hear you. So you give your advices, your points to Dr. Rai Sahab.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, it is better now.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. We will discuss about that. We will discuss. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Please.
So we will be discussing in detail. We will be preparing the whole of the things. But 2 points I wanted to share at this platform, that vetiver planting we have thought of, and and ultimately we want that zero discharge from domestic sources and as well as industrial sources is properly implemented, and for that engineering services are there, so that we have to ultimate this Assi River experiment is to reach to that level. So that I wanted to share with the platform. Thank you.
Thank you. RN Singh Sahab is here. He will be talking on social issues, and Dr. Rohilla was talking with us yesterday in the technical discussion. Decentralized wastewater treatment, and these options are already, in a serious mode of discussion. However, we have to see our limitation angle, our application angle. So let us work on that, and let us try to create a suitable environment for that. We will be working together. Thank you very much for your inputs. Yes, next is River Assi. So Professor CSP Ojha, sir. Professor Ojha, are you there?
Yes, PK, I'm very much there. Good afternoon to everybody.
Namaskar.
So our session was, I think, a great beginning was made by Professor Raju from Banaras University. And, he also showed what kind of data is available with BHU. But looking into hydrogeology aspects of the problem. In fact, I personally visited the UP Groundwater Board also, and as far as the ground levels are there, that groundwater level information is there at selected points in Varanasi. But regarding the lithologs and the groundwater quality, I could not get enough information, and Groundwater Board directed me to contact UP Jal Nigam. I also visited the place. So I think if such kind of data is available with the faculty members of BHU, I think we will need it. Second thing is that if you are talking about the recharge from the oxidation ponds, we also need to identify those oxidation ponds where, observing this rise in the groundwater amount, we can predict a specific yield. We can decide the specific yield. So that will help us in planning these oxidation ponds and recharge through the oxidation ponds. So these are some of the initial thoughts. In fact, one of PhD students did try to simulate the flow in the Assi river, and the flow was taking place from the Ganga river to Assi river in when the flood level was very high in the river Ganges. And she also showed the possibility that considering the augmentation of the oxidation pond and by using wetland systems, it was possible to improve the quality and routing of that treated quality water was perhaps helpful in improving the quality of river Assi. So that was some initial work done by us at Roorkee. In fact, at that time we are not having availability of detailed data, because this was informed by my friend Professor P.K. Singh only a month ago. So whatever little bit we could try to do that, we tried to do that. But something interesting came up in the our session, and that was from Professor Raju, that all the meander loops have to be ignored, and perhaps those straightened channels will be helpful in avoiding the sedimentation or siltation in the Sea River channel. Now we have to really look into it scientifically, that whether we need to cut all the meandering loops or only a part of it, because you see the sedimentation problem or the siltation problem in the river will depend on what is the shear stress which is generated in the river. So whether the shear stress is really less to lead to siltation problem throughout the Sea River, this has to be scientifically investigated. And so this will require the collection of data related to flow variation. So only then this point can be scientifically investigated, because what was apparent from the discussion in the morning is that the siltation has been one of the main factors in shifting of the Assi River confluence point. So certainly this thought also came in the morning session, that this confluence should be better designed. So this will require some engineering interventions. So certainly as far as the land use, land cover pattern is there, and the precise location of the ponds is there, I think a lot of work has been done at BHU, and making use of those work, and in addition to that, collecting additional data on the flow rate variation and the type of concentration which is coming in the river, a better work can be planned to rejuvenate the river. These are some of the initial thoughts, right? So as far as the location of oxidation ponds and whatever their conditions is there, whether they are able to sufficiently recharge the aquifer, that has to be also seen once we know the aquifer parameters. Unfortunately, the litholog information has to be available, and the information from the pumping test will help us to know the aquifer parameters. Unless this is known, the kind of settlement which I have seen, the buildup of that, and I believe that people must be relying on the abstraction of groundwater in Varanasi region, because nowadays people have the tendency to tap the water maybe 100 feet below or 200 feet below. Similar kind of situation we are facing in many parts of India. Even they are going up to very deep. But in Varanasi, considering that groundwater level must be not very far from the Earth surface, so there is a possibility to look into this. What is abstraction pattern? So accordingly, once we know the groundwater budgeting part or groundwater balancing in the Assi region, only then a better planning of recharging this aquifer can be planned. One of the suggestions also came that we can raise a channel, a deeper channel parallel to Assi river, and that will help in recharge. So from recharge point of view, two suggestions came. That was, dredging a parallel channel to the sea, the deeper one, which will help the recharge. This was the one suggestion. The another suggestion was that from Akdestan Pond, we could expect recharge to take place. And of course, the issue from taking the, recharging this paleo channel, that's also featured in the discussion. And so I think these are some of the points which came in the discussion. And certainly the kind of data which is available with BHU now, that gives me a hope that by collecting some additional data through maybe collaborative work between IIT, BHU, IIT Roorkee, NIH, IIT Kanpur and other institutions will be interested. So certainly some additional work can be taken as a part of research project, and then the better plan can be developed. So certainly it is possible to rejuvenate the rivers. Right now, while I'm talking to you, in fact, in the morning, I visited one of the rivers in Assam, Maravarali River, where again the NGT gave the instructions to rejuvenate this river. So the kind of wetlands, I visited all those places in the morning, and that's why it was very difficult for me, to maintain the continuity because of the internet connectivity. So I could miss some of the presentations I could miss, but I think most of the time I missed only my presentation, the presentation by my PhD student, about which I was very much familiar what kind of work has been done with the kind of data available at IIT Roorkee. So with this, I think it's all a positive sign. And in fact, it will be very pertinent to let you know that Professor Shankar and myself visited IIT BHU long back, and there we tried to establish a plant based on the soil biotechnology, and I think that is working well. So that kind of concept also needs to be implemented wherever it is possible to do that, wherever the open spaces are there, because the quality of treated wastewater is certainly of very high quality. And so in fact, I think at 2 places in BHU, I think this scheme was implemented, if I am 100% correct. And I could have also an opportunity to visit those places. So there are technologies available to treat the wastewater. In the morning session also, we had, several discussions related to that. So nowadays, we are in a position to, treat the wastewater more effectively. And we are also having the expertise in terms of dealing with the, alluvial river problems in a better way. We can also do hydrologic modeling in a much better way, because we are having so much data from the remote sensing products. So that enhances our capability to model the runoff process in a more precise way. And if we tap the aquifer and try to assess its characteristics, logs are there, some additional data can be collected on the discharge variations and recharge patterns. Then I think by looking into all this, a better plan can be developed to, rejuvenate these rivers. I think that's not a big issue. I think prior to this, I have worked on a plan to rejuvenate River Pichola as a part of MOWR project. So we could successfully do that. So I think this is not something which, our capabilities at this stage will discourage us not to take this work. This is a very good initiative by Professor Tare and Professor P.K. Singh. And unfortunately, I was not involved in other occasions, maybe because of some reasons. But this time, I think when Professor P.K. Singh asked me to join this group, I very gladly agreed, because I was, at IIT BHU from 84 to 86. And then I did actual survey work in River Ganges. So I know Ganges, I know Assi, they are all well familiar names to me. And I consider myself to be very much associated with Varanasi and the problems of, these rivers. So I would be glad to offer my, expertise to this. And I hope that with the joint effort of all of us, a good day will come when we will see that these rivers are rejuvenated. So with this, I would like to stop here, consider the limitation of time. Thank you very much, PK, and thank you very much, Professor Tare. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Professor Ojha. I mean, I will just add that you should be happy. Whatever the STP treatment system you have told, Professor Shankar and you and
Yes.
all of us, that system is here. We installed one system at IIT BHU
Okay.
and it is working well.
Okay.
Due
Yes,
to
yes,
corona,
that's right. That's
due
right.
to corona period, it was stopped for a while, but now
Yeah, but
once
I came
again
with
we are
Professor
starting.
Shankar, and yeah, I was, I along with Professor Shankar, visited, and then we started this initiative. So that is very good. I'm very happy that,
Thank you.
this is working very well. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Whether Dr. Mansee is here? Dr. Yes, sir. Professor Ojha, there is one, chat box mein groundwater data is available at State Groundwater Board. Please
It is
contact.
available, only groundwater labels are there, but groundwater board did not give me any quality data and any idea about litholax. That's what I said in the beginning itself. That groundwater board has provided me the data. I fully acknowledge that. But as far as the litholax were considered, I could not get that. And the water quality data of the groundwater, I could not get that. So I also need to know. And in fact, we need to take up some smaller pilot projects though to see that how this recharge mound is building up. So if you know that, I think that will help in the planning of our entire irrigation plan. Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Ojha, thank you very much. Let me inform you, the Groundwater Board Director, Uttar Pradesh, is from BHU. And we are in good contact to each other.
Yeah, I know.
Some-
He's from BHU. I know Dr. Upadhyay, he is from BHU. I met him and
Yes.
he helped me. But
So-
he said he can only help me the groundwater levels and no water quality and no litholax, because he said that it is the joint responsibility of UP Jal Nigam. And UP Jal Nigam, when I went there, I have not received anything. So maybe I will need the intervention of Professor Tare or Professor Venkatesh, if they can help me that. So I think that the better planning can be done. I also need the data of certain pumping tests to know better about expert parameters. All these things will require technical planning, right? So we need to decide the capacity. We need to decide everything, right? So that's why I said.
Professor Ojha, I will request you to kindly give some time and you please give us in some bullet point whatever you have discussed with us, whatever you have
Okay.
shared with us.
Okay. I will give that, but I will be able to give you only on Monday because
Yeah, that's it.
okay.
Welcome.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Monday when I reach Roorkee, I will give you that. Okay, no problem.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you
sure.
very much.
Sure,
Dr.
sure.
Mansee, are you here? Dr. Mansee. Dr. Mansee Bhargava. Dr. Mansee, are you, whether I'm audible to you, I'm reaching to you or not? If she's
I
not
think
there,
if she's not there, I've covered all the points which were discussed, so I think that's okay. Yeah. No
okay,
problem.
that's fine. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So now we will go to Professor Shankar. Professor Shankar has joined. Professor Shankar,
Yes.
yeah, you are the co-chair of the session. Perhaps you couldn't see that, and Dr. Prithvish Nag, he is supposed to join us as a chair and I'm just working on your behalf.
Yeah, please, Professor Singh, since you know the subject better, why don't you get started and I'll join you. I want to learn geology and, all the hydrogeology of which I'm not so familiar, but I'm a good listener. Please carry on.
So here is a time for you. You have to summarize what kind of technological options you could screen through various presentations in the session which was discussing on river Assi.
Yes,
So,
I can do it now, right now.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, all of you. Indeed, delighted to be speaking to all of you. First, an audience of civil engineers. I am coming from a chemical engineering background, so you will bear with me that my knowledge of civil engineering is not as much. But I was delighted to hear the speakers of the morning. And there were three broad areas. One was treatment, on which much of the effort was focused from various people from different parts of the country and so on. Essentially, treatment was biological treatment, physical treatment, and various other physical treatments are talked about. But what I have understood from the morning is that treatment is one of the options that is required to revive the river. But the most important part, as I understood, is that we must make the river flow again. How do you make the river flow again? since the river source has been affected due to a variety of reasons, so the river, making the river flow again might seem to be a very long drawn activity to restore the ecology of the source. In the intervening period, I mean, I had suggested, and some of you had hinted also, that we may have to pump water into the river using the expertise of Jal Nigam, and then do all the extra works of treatment as well as source of the river and so on as an additional work, it to be happening over a course of time. So my submission, based on whatever I've heard in the morning, with due respect to all of you, is that we must provide to Jal Nigam adequate resources. I have estimated it to be around 1200 crores, primarily to create a pumping station to pump water into the river so that it can non-consumptively flow back into Ganga. While we work on treatment, work on ensuring that bad water doesn't go into the river. While we work on wherever possible, we can divert treated water into the river. A lot of these ideas were given by one Madam Ria, a student of Professor C.K. Singh. There were some interesting suggestions particularly from IIT Bombay.
Some sound.
Whatever we do in a not affected. Submission to all of you is that let us make the river flow again and work on all these extra in course of time. With this, I request Professor P.K. Singh to get ahead with this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you a lot. The kind of summarization you have made, which from the various discussion which took place in this session, I will request you to send me a one-page note with this summary so that we can take it forward. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So now, yes, now here is the turn. Shri R.N. Singh Sahab, he had joined us in the morning session. He was pre-engaged and so he couldn't join, but he has taken all the feedbacks required for his talk with Professor Rana P.V. Singh. So Shri R.N. Singh Sahab has more than 40 years of working in administrative life and working with the social life as well, very, closely. So I have requested him to lead this social engagement group and alignment with the administrative system, administrative setup, how our recommendations or ideas can be implemented, the science which we are talking, the engineering which we are thinking, how these things can be implemented in the real field of Assi River. So, R.N. Singh sir.
Thank you, Dr. P.K. Singh. In fact, I could just not understand that I had to participate in morning session. Just I missed it. Otherwise, I would have come. So I thought that I have to come in this session only. And social engagement from social angle, river in Indian culture itself has been assumed, has been conceived as a living entity. It is just not only flow of water, it is something just, they have been given the status of goddess, Ma Ganga, and all the rivers, they have been respected like that. The whole nature have been respected like that. And there is a very strong group in sociological circle who believe that the demarcation, or rather the reorganization of the states and districts, should be based on the basis of river basins. River with its basin has got their own civilizational aspect also. Ganga basin, Yamuna basin, a lot of that things. So there is a strong group who believe that the river basins are the civilizational, rather nourishing line, and we should go along with that. So far as the Assi and Varuna is concerned, I don't know how many of us know the origin of Varuna. Varuna origins in somewhere at the border of Jaunpur district and Allahabad district, and from there it is running almost the same point on the other side of the GT road, in the say Durvasha Rishi Ashram near Ganga. That is the origin point of because
Yes.
so that is what I wanted to tell you. That there is a parallel origin of Varuna and this Assi. Assi originates from the just near Ganga, that is Durvasa Rishi Ashram near India. So that point is the origin of on the south side of Hadiya place. That is the origin of Assi river, Durvasa Rishi Ashram, and the north side of Hadiya. The GT road goes through that, and the north side near on the border of this Jaunpur and Allahabad district. That is the origin of Varuna. Varuna and Assi river originates almost 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers are apart the places. I have been to those places and I have seen those places. In fact, when there was a lot of, in old days, these were the overflow of Ganga itself. Ganga meets Jamuna at Sangam, and in rainy seasons, the overflow of Ganga and Jamuna used to come into this origin place of Durvasa Rishi Ashram, that is very near to Ganga, on the one side of Hadiya, south side of Hadiya. North side of Hadiya is that Varuna river origin, and both rivers were originating from the overflow of Ganga during this rainy season. And water of Ganga and Jamuna used to come into Assi also and into Varuna also. So Varuna is somehow maintaining it from that point of its origin, which is on the border of Allahabad and Jaunpur district. This Assi river used to get dried even in older days also. In rainy season, the flow was quite good, but in the dry season, it used to get dried. So, but not perennial. It was never a perennial river. It was a seasonal river sort of thing. That is why in Kasi Khand and all that in older Purans, this used to be called as Suska River. That is the word for Assi is Suska. Suska means it used to get dried. But the channel was there, basin was there, and is still there. Basin is still there, and there have been a lot of excavations by this BHU PhD scholar that Mishra, and I have gone to those places, and there are very underflow is still there in Assi Basin, at in the depth of 5-6 feet down the earth. There is a still underflow, and it can be recovered. It can be recovered. If you be somehow some digging and all that in the way we could make. The river can, if not perennial, seasonal river can be recovered. It is still possible. But as far as the present condition is concerned, almost the river, nala, whatever it is almost finished. That is very tragic because Varanasi, its classical name, Assi, Varuna. So for the very existence and culture of the Varanasi, recovery and revival of Assi river is of prime importance, and all things has to be whatever is possible, and in just whatever can see in immediate future, whatever we can do, just there is only one possibility, that if we can have some lift canal from this Sultankeshwar to this Kandwa place, Kandwa Pokhara, and then from Kandwa Pokhara, the channel, whatever wide and thin, whatever it is, where the channel can be opened and the river can be revived, and this perennial river can be revived. There are so many rivers. Which originate from one main river and merges in the same river, like whatever is in Punjab, that is one Kalpey, what was revived by this Sant Sinchewal. This Kalpey originates, it is somewhat 160-kilometer river, and it originates from this Byas river, and it merges into Byas river also. And it was also almost dried. But this the effort of Sinchewal got it revived, and now it is a perennial river and first-class river. River rafting and all type of river competition is being held in that river at this whatever is the place of this Nanak Sahib ka place, jahan unki shaadi ho, sari cheezein. So this Assi river can be revived. I have a lot of hope, but there is I am of the opinion that lot of public awakening has to be there. If the public get awakened, government will have to do that. Government cannot resist it. A lot of public awakening has to be there. And one thing I would like to more attention, that sewage treatment and all things we are discussing here. Sewage, once I visited Allahabad, and this grandson of Madan Malvi, this the chancellor of BHU, Girdhar Malvi, and he was discussing one important point, and I never forget that. I never forget that. I talked with on so many occasions that he told that, see, the health of river got back to us as we went into lot of sewer management system. He told that earlier every city on the bank of river, Banaras, Allahabad, like up to Kolkata, Murshidabad, so many cities, there was a decentralized sewage treatment system, and all houses used to have soap pits like that one, and only treated water used to come from the houses, individual houses, and only treated. This decentralized system of treatment was there. As after this Ganga action plan first, the laying of the sewer lines and all that, and centralized treatment, as we went for centralized treatment, the health of river started getting bad to worse. And still it is going. How river Assi can be revived, I don't know. I have gone all along path of river from Assi to Kandwa and all that on my foot, and I have seen the condition. The big pipelines of this sewage treatment system is laid down just below the river, I don't know how it can be revived. You will have to dismantle whatever the sewage system which has been laid down in Varanasi to revive the. If you talk about the revival of Assi, you will have to dismantle the pipeline which is going just below the river itself. It is just, you can't do that. You can't avoid that. You can't just avoid that. But I have a lot of faith in public awakening. I have a lot of faith in public awakening. Public will come, then they will have to do. They will have to do. But it's a difficult job, but I have a lot of hope. Thank you.
So nice. Can you extend it? Yes, thank you, sir. Yes, the challenge is really difficult. We accept it, but then that is what makes you a leader. So, as a leader of the society and as the leader of technical institution, we have to work together to make it happen. So, thank you very much, Professor Tare. Sir, Professor Tare, are you there? Professor Tare?
Yes, I'm here.
Sir,
Yes, I'm here.
sir, I will take another 10 minutes before I hand it over to you.
Okay, no issue, I'm here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have there with me Dr. Sanjay Rai. Dr. Sanjay Rai, are you here? Dr. Sanjay? He is a real officer working in Varanasi system. So I thought he will be giving us the real kind of challenge he's facing from the administration side. He was here, I saw him a few minutes back, but anyway, if he's not there, we will collect his feedback and then we'll take it up. Before I conclude, yes, here is our Guruji, Professor UK Chaudhary Sahab. He missed the technical session, so he wants to share some of his views. So, sir, some 3 minutes?
Or 5 minutes.
Okay. Yes, you are visible.
Jai Bholenath. Assi and Varuna. River is defined by base flow. ग्राउंड वाटर ही नदी का जीवंत लिक्विड है। जिस तरह प्रोटोप्लाज्म हमारे शरीर में रक्त के प्रवाह के साथ मिलना चाहिए, सिमिलर टू दिस ग्राउंड वाटर इज मोस्ट एसेंशियल कंस्टिट्यूएंट ऑफ द रिवर सिस्टम। अस्सी एंड वरुणा की दशा में 3 समस्याएं हैं। पॉल्यूटेंट्स को कलेक्ट करना, ग्राउंड वाटर को एक्सप्लोर करना, ट्रीटमेंट सिस्टम को स्टेबलाइज करना। तो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम जो है इनफ्लो ऑफ पॉल्यूटेंट्स। विभिन्न घरों के जो मलजल आते हैं, बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है अस्सी और वरुणा में। RN सिंह साहब ने राइटली सेड, यह जो छोटे छोटे इनफ्लो सिस्टम हैं पॉल्यूटेंट्स के अस्सी और वरुणा में, यह सेप्टिक टैंक से कलेक्ट किया जाना चाहिए। और हमारा उद्देश्य होना चाहिए कि वाराणसी में न STP हो, न एक बूंद पॉल्यूटेंट्स गंगा में डिस्चार्ज हो। प्रकृति ने पॉल्यूटेंट्स मैनेजमेंट के लिए गंगा का सैंडबेड बनाया है, विशाल सैंड बेड। तो जितने भी पॉल्यूटेंट्स के सोर्स हैं अस्सी और बन्ना को, यहाँ सेप्टिक टैंक आप बताएंगे एयर पॉल्यूशन, और सेप्टिक टैंक इज पार्शियली ट्रीटिंग द पॉल्यूटेंट्स, केवल ऑर्गेनिक लोड की व्यवस्था करता है, और टोटल पॉल्यूटेंट लोड इन डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स आर डिस्चार्ज इन द रिवर सिस्टम। इसलिए एसटीपी कभी भी पॉल्यूशन मैनेजमेंट का परमानेंट उपाय नहीं है। और वरुणा और अस्सी छोटे छोटे अफजल स्रोतों से कनेक्टेड हैं, इसलिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होगा वह होगा सेप्टिक टैंक से पॉल्यूटेंट सोर्स को रोकना और ग्राउंड वाटर को एक्सप्लोर करना। जो नदी अस्सी और वरुणा मलजल के गाद से भर गया है, ग्राउंड वाटर टेबल कवर्ड हो गए हैं, इसलिए ग्राउंड वाटर टेबल को नदी में इंटर करना जरूरी है। इसलिए अब जो सोर्स जो बचे हुए हैं, सॉलिड वेस्ट जो जमे हुए हैं, उनको निकालना है। और तीसरा प्रॉब्लम है, आर.एन. सिंह साहब ने कहा, एकदम सही कहा इन्होंने, जो रिवर के बेस को, फ्लड प्लेन को डिफाइन करना है, वो ग्राउंड वाटर टेबल से डिफाइन होगा। ग्राउंड वाटर टेबल यदि आप डिफरेंट वेल्स के डेटा ले लें तो ग्राउंड वाटर टेबल का जो स्लोप होगा वो डिफाइन करेगा कि आधारभूत जल इसका फ्लड प्लेन कहाँ तक है। बस डिफाइन, सब कुछ हो गया डिफाइन, आपका चौड़ाई डिफाइन हो गया, और गाल से जो नदी का पेट भरा हुआ है उसको आप निकाल दीजिए, और जो सेप्टिक टैंक है उसका यूज कीजिए, सोक पिट का यूज कीजिए। इसको कहते हैं माइनर सिस्टम और माइक्रो सिस्टम ऑफ पॉल्यूशन मैनेजमेंट। मैं धनबाद गया था, धनबाद में विजिटिंग प्रोफेसर था आईआईटी में, तो वहाँ के लोग बताए कि धनबाद में तो कहीं भी सीवर लाइन नहीं है। सीवर लाइन हैज क्रिएटेड द टोटल प्रॉब्लम, therefore it should be thought of on the basis of micro pollution management system, that is septic tank. Jai Bholenath.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being so precise and so Professor Chaudhary, for being so precise and specific in your recommendations. Yes, septic tank is the real solution, and we are working on redesigning the septic system. In the society, some wrong notions have been created about septic tanks. People have forgotten there is something called choke pit. People are constructing only the first part of the retention tank. And then whatever the associated problem with the soak pit is there, that needs to be addressed. The nitrate problem of groundwater and other things, we have worked on that, and we have created a redesign of that so that the nitrate problem of groundwater due to the sewage can be taken care of. So this is a very good kind of recommendation from your side. We will like to study it in detail and come up with the real working solution that provides the micro management of the pollution. Thank you very much. So I think, Professor Tare, I have almost summarized. I have taken the views of all the coordinators who have summarized various sessions. Now I'm handing over to you. Finally, you have to give a final way forward for us. All IIT system or all our partners who are associated with us, how do you feel being the coordinator of GRBMP plan, your own experiences all over these years, our association, our strength and weaknesses put together? How do you feel we should be guided? In particular, this river Assi and Varuna, and then, of course, we have enlisted a few rivers for the future plan of study. So, and there with you is Dr. Manu Bhatnagar also. He is a well-known figure. I feel you are well acquainted with him. So, Dr. Manu Bhatnagar, you are here?
Yes, I am very much there.
So nice of you. So once your video is on, then we can see you. So, Professor Tare, now it is to you, both of you. Thank you from my side.
Thank you, Prabhat. And I have been listening to the proceedings of this particular conference over the last 2 years. I cannot say I have listened 100%, but I can say substantial portion I have been able to listen to. Before I say something, should we go for the speakers that are listed against each of the rivers if they are there, and then we can finally have a discussion on this. And if Manu Bhatnagar wants to say something, most welcome. Can you please unmute yourself? Okay. Meanwhile, Prabhat, do we have the speakers for the different rivers? What is your take on that? And we can then continue.
I feel Dr. Venkatesh, are you here? Yeah.
Okay. So let's start from that, isn't it? And then when you find other people, but be very brief so that we can have time for discussion and be specific in terms of what is the agenda for today's thing. Professor Venkatesh.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So let me share my
Professor Tare,
slides.
sir, 1 minute, one request.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we finish, kindly give some 5 minutes to me once again, because there is a audio recording from our French collaborator who are visiting next February here. So he wants to convey something to us. So please give us 5 minutes from your session. Thank you.
Okay. Is it now you want, or you want towards the end?
No, I mean anywhere during the discussion before we finish.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I'll be very brief, and I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
And the slides are visible. So basically, this river, the Gomti Basin, is one of the 8 major river basins of UP, and the Varuna River Basin is somewhere here. There's this bulge due to Vindhyas and the interflow of Gomti and the Ganga River Basin. So we have taken the entire basin. We have mapped the water bodies, all the lakes, ponds, paleo channels on a 1 meter scale. And now we are focusing on protection of the habitats and the river corridors and the connected landscapes. We are also working on riparian vegetations, and we have suggested the native varieties only on the not on the terrace, but the suitable sites which are not the site of sedimentation or erosion. So we have taken this river cross section, and we are trying to restore the riparian forest buffer and the connected wetlands as well by demarcating the flood pathways. So I just gave a training to the forest department. They were just trying to plant on the river side. So we suggested that you cannot just plant on the river terrace. You have to see that wherever there is this, this is your concave side and this is your convex side. And till that point when sedimentation is happening, you are not supposed to plant any vegetation. And this is happening naturally. If you see the meandering character of this river, you see that on the convex side, natural vegetation on the upper stretch. Now, just Professor U.K. Chaudhary had pointed out that it is the groundwater which sustains the plain-fed rivers in the lean season. And this is very true to this river. The base flow index is very high. We have seen that the river has characteristic wet phase and the dry phase also, which is part of the hydrological cycle, because it is in the dry phase that the vegetation regeneration is happening and a lot of floodplain river nutrient transfer is happening. So we legitimize this river's rights to have both floods and droughts as inseparable parts, so that the entire variety of flow regimes could be visible. not only the base flows, which is supported by the groundwater throughout the year, but also the flood pulses and the overbank flows as part of the variable flow regime. What we have seen that there is a lot of increase in the intensive irrigation, the paddy, wheat, and sugarcane, which is causing rapid groundwater decline, and as a result of that, the base flow is coming down. So we categorize the problems into major segments like flow reduction and encroachment on the rivers, land, and disconnected water bodies, and also pollution from domestic and industrial sources. But a lot of first order, second order tributaries, they are disappearing from the revenue maps. If you see the Survey of India topo sheets 1930 and 1910, you'll find that they exist. So we tried to record all the tributaries, and we recorded around 29 tributaries of Gomti River, which were not recorded by the Land Revenue Department. They were just given the drain number 1, 2, or something like that. But in the local lingo, they have a proper name. So we started from Landsat 1977 picture, which is quite old, and this is also interfluve region between Ramganga and Sharda River, and it is also there's this escape canal which used to exist in early 80s. So we are also trying to augment the flow with this Hardoi branch of the Sharda Canal and release some water in the Pilibhit district. So we categorized the entire basin into 7 segments, and I personally traveled from origin till Jaunpur Kathi confluence, and it took me 9 days. We were a team of 22 people, including retired professors and my students and locals, and we did this yatra in 2011. So this is 21, so 10 years back. Now this is the scenario in the upper segment where there is no demarcation of rivers, land, and terrace, and many of the patches are becoming intermittent. This was just in 1 year. I took this picture from the same spot, and this you could see that how the intermittency index is increasing in an upper stretch in Lakhimpur and Pilibhit districts. We urge the Land Revenue Department to demarcate the river, but a lot of farmers are also encroaching upon the active flood pathways of the Gomti River. There's a flood, channel fragmentation due to construction of roads, and that is also leading to obstructed flow in the upper stretch. Rivers not existent in the upper 85-kilometer stretch, and we were the first one to highlight it in 2011 when there was this aerial survey done by the cabinet minister himself, and we took all the satellite pictures right from Landsat 78 to list 3, list 4, and we are also taking Google. So even within the urban stretch, river is very dynamic. You could see the river is changing, the wetted perimeter is changing, and the flood pathways and the meandering oxbow lakes, paleo channels, they get active during the monsoon season. So this was scenario in 2011. But there was this attempt of channel straightening under the riverfront development project, which also destroyed the mosaic of habitat which was used for the sandbanks, which was used for the turtles, because this river was known for the turtles. Just like Ganga is Magar Bahini, Gomti is Kachchap Bahini. So the river had many varieties of turtles, but we lost the sandbanks due to destructive projects which imported the hard clay and choked the active pathways. And I took a lot of drone pictures, so I will not go into detail, but what we categorized, there were 8 habitat types before this project, but now most of them are absent due to channelization, and only 2 river habitats, that is open river and deep pools, are there, and all the channel confluence and grassed banks and connected ditches were lost. So this was situation in 2008. He's Jacob. He's no more now. We invited him in 2008, and this was the same spot. You could see these buildings, same buildings, but a lot of aquatic vegetation is now coming on a regular manner. Now these are the 29 tributaries we noted, we made a T diagram, we mapped, we went to all the tributaries, and we listed the problems. This is the origin of the river, fragmented tal, and the river is lost downstream in farmer's field. I'll just quickly go to scroll over these slides. So you see that even the active path is being encroached. This is the origin of the river, Fulhar Jheel, Gomat Tal, and 85 kilometer downstream, intensive agriculture is happening, and that is choking the river systems. So we mapped those villages, and around 10% of the land was available in the name of Gram Samaj or Chak Road. So this was done during Chakbandi, and the river's land was given to the villagers. Now it is very difficult to reclaim those lands. There were many paleo channels and oxbow lakes, many rivers like Sarayan in Sitapur meeting the main river, and it is bringing the polluted discharge from the sugarcane factories, and that also kills the fish. Within the river stretch, you find a very dynamic wetland in Shahjahanpur, and an entire river stretch is just like a Tarai wetland, and you could even spot magar and a crocodile species here. Now this was before Sitapur. We did the mapping of the micro watershed. Now we took the CWC data from 1978 onwards to calculate the e-flows, and you would be surprised to see that there's a massive reduction in flow at all the locations, and this was primarily due to groundwater depletion, because we mapped the trend in the groundwater. So I'll go to this why it is happening. This river was again just like Varuna. It was a gaining river, getting a lot of groundwater from the aquifers, but now it is losing due to decline in groundwater table. And we calculated base flow index very high, almost like 68 to 78% at different stations. So what you see is the subsidence and base flow throughout, which is the major component of the total discharge. And you could also spot the base flows, which is coming out from the base of the river early morning, just like upwelling of the groundwater onto the into the river channel, and that is how the surface water is getting interacted with the groundwater. So these are the contour maps of the groundwater. I will not go into detail, but this is how this was the situation in 86, the groundwater table, pre-monsoon 2006, post-monsoon 2006, then 2005. So we mapped the groundwater table decline, and this is coinciding with the drying of the river. So this is the situation. The groundwater, 91% of the basin had groundwater table above 5 meter in 84, which declined to only 52% in 2006. So this is happening to all the tropical smaller tributaries of the Ganges, which are fed by the groundwater. So some slides on the water quality, and this was some pictures I took from drone on the connectivity of the fluvial corridors. So we also wrote to CWC, and we are trying to have, we had a campaign because there was a Satha Dhan, which was a variety of paddy which was grown in summer. Satha Dhan, the paddy would mature in 60 days. So we wrote to NGT, and due to that, the Satha Dhan was banned. And this was banned in Punjab earlier, and many farmers are there from Punjab, Pilibhit and Lakhimpur. So we are looking into some of the, these are some of the reports that were published post this thing. So I will not go into detail, but I will just conclude here. We are working on flow habitat relationships, and we have to again work on nature-based solution, and we are working on a small patch where we are trying to do restore the channel by minimal invasions, just by reactivating the natural dynamic processes through restoration of the corridors and the vegetation patches. And we are doing some smaller tributaries also, natural remediation. So thank you so much. So I would stop here. If you have any question, you could.
Thank you very much for giving the overall picture in terms of the status and the issues related to the Gomti Basin. I think we will go through getting the status of all the rivers that Professor Singh has listed. So can we move on to the next one if the presenter is around? Prabhat, who is the next?
Yes. Professor Shukla or V.K. Chaudhary from Ram Manohar Lohia, Awadh University. They have worked on River Saryu. If he is yet to join, yes, Professor Govind Pandey. Professor Govind Pandey. Professor Govind Pandey, are you here? I think, sir, Professor Tare, Dr. Suresh Kumar has already intimated that possibly on the Ram Ganga, you will be sharing the current state of the situation. So let us go for Ram Ganga, please.
Well, so far as the Ram Ganga is concerned, the Ram Ganga in all aspects I can say is mini Ganga. Okay. So almost all features of river Ganga that we see up to the middle stretch of Ganga are there in Ram Ganga as well, except the fact that Ram Ganga does not have the deltaic region. It does not go and meet the sea. It goes and meets the Ganga river. The issues with respect to Ram Ganga are more or less similar to what we see for the mainstem of Ganga. That is, there is a big dam. The water is taken for irrigation purposes, and then downstream of that, you have the industries and the major towns. So the situation is more or less similar. Of course, we have done, and I do not want to present that, but we have that information available, like what is done for Gomti. We have the maps, we have the tributaries listed there, and the flows and some kind of modeling work that is done. But I don't think, and also the biological profile of the river, land use, land cover, all that information has been collected, and NMCG is giving the top priority to work on the Ram Ganga Basin, and they have also requested under Indo-EU cooperation to GIZ, and hopefully in the next couple of years we will be working together, Ganga, NMCG, GIZ and other associated institutions to develop further more things. So some of the things are common, and I think we will have first the presentations, whichever are possible, on all the rivers, tributaries that are listed. Assi and Varuna, of course, we have already seen in detail. Gomti we have seen. I just gave you the information related to Ram Ganga. Let's listen to if they are there. Otherwise, we will start taking stock of what exactly happened in the conference and what is the way forward. So Prabhat, if there are others, is there? Otherwise, we start the discussion.
Yes, Dr. Manu Bhatnagar is here.
Yeah, Manu Bhatnagar is here. I will give him the chance. But I thought first, if there are some information that anybody wants to share as per the program that is listed on the river, if that is over, then we can go to the discussion.
Yeah, before we go for discussion, I will just need that some time.
So if there are no more presentations, then you can take that time, and then I will request Dr. Manu Bhatnagar to start.
Okay, sir. Okay, I'm going to, yeah, present.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Hervé Piéguet. I'm a research director at CNRS, which is a National Center of Scientific Research located in France, in Lyon. So I'm very pleased to be here to participate to this inaugural session of River Health Conference, which is online. I thank the organizer for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to participate to this conference. I was in Varanasi in 2018 for the first international conference on river health assessment to restoration. And with a group at the IIT Varanasi, Professor Singh, Dr. Shishir Gaur, Dr. Anurag Gori, we discussed quite a lot about, for example, creating a center for river health studies in Varanasi, and also about a long-term river health observatory. And we have such development and experience in France, and we shared a vision for what we should do in research to improve river status. And so since this time, and to build, open these ambitious tasks they have in Varanasi, we propose at CNRS a IRP project, which is an international research project linking Indian researchers and French ones. And this is a 5-year projects, and we focus this to study the effects of river aquifer exchanges on riverine ecosystem resilience to global change within a comparative approach between the Ganga and the Rhone. And so the objective is truly to study different issue. So what is such program? The idea of the IRP is to promote a collaborative or cooperation between Indian and French researchers in research, evidently, but potentially also in education. And one of the aim is, for example, to develop some co-supervision of PhDs. It's also an incentive program over 5 years, and we can get additional 5 more years if the cooperation is really fruitful and valued. So this program is funding travel expense so that Indian researchers can go to France and some French researchers can come to India as well. And the site-based research is mainly supported by the running projects and by the different laboratories. So within this project, we have 10 Indian researchers from different university in India. So from IIT Varanasi and also from BHU with notably the Department of Biology, but also other IIT campus, the one of Delhi, Gandhinagar, and Guwahati. And also 10 French researchers from CNRS, but also from the University of Lyon, from the School of ANS, which is a normal university. And I think you have this also this network of university in India, and an engineering school of Saint-Etienne. So for this research program, we focused on a main 3 topics. And the first one is to understand the range of thermal patterns within large hydrographic networks. And the idea is to compare the Ganga and the Rhone Basin. So just to give you an idea of the Rhone Basin, you have it here. Lyon is located here, and if you look at carefully on this map, you see in red the basin, and all this is the European Alps with Italy on this border, and you see that the Rhone is draining mainly the western part of the European Alps. The basin is roughly 100,000 kilometers square, so it's quite smaller than the Ganga basin, but there are some similarities in the way they both are draining a mountain chain with downstream and surrounding alluvial plains. So like we have in India, for example, in the Rhone Basin, we have quite a lot of braided channels. So the idea notably is to compare different reaches within the two networks, and notably some braided reaches, but also some meandering reaches located downstream, to understand this interaction between the superficial and the groundwater. And you have here the kind of equipment we use. Usually we use a camera, a thermal camera, which is mounted on this kind of ultra-trike vehicles to detect some patches. We work usually during summertime to look at some cold patches we can observe on this image. And if you look at the braided system, you see that the main flowing channel is usually quite warm during the hot season, whereas you have some secondary channel, side channel, for which the water is colder because they are fed by groundwater. And then it's possible to have a range of conditions. You know, we can observe from satellite image when we have braided system with a lot of unflowing channel. It seems during low flows, they are well fed by groundwater, whereas when we have mainly a single or two flowing channels without any unflowing channel, then we expect that the groundwater exchange with the superficial water is quite low. So from regular satellite image, we can have an expertise to estimate where we can find the hotspot of active exchange with between the superficial water and the groundwater. And this is what we will try to apply at the Ganga network scale to see if there is some similarities with the Rhone catchment. And the second topic is to develop at a rich scale some model of river and aquifer or hyporheic zone exchanges, and to look at the temperature responses. The temperature is a good indicator of such exchanges, as I told you before, and also the transfer of contaminant. And so this is mainly done with hydraulic models. And in this domain, I know that the Indian colleagues are very strong. So Shishir Gaur spent some time in France to study such exchanges, and notably on the lower river. And you have an idea here of the work that has been done to identify the amount of water which is delivered from the groundwater, and to have a strategy of validation of this from a field campaign. And on this part of the slide, this is the work of Nilandu Das, which is a PhD student at IIT Varanasi, working with Anuragori and Shishir Gaur, and also an undergraduate student, Shiwam, who spent some time in France. And these are their works where they are studying some patterns of temperature within the Ganga River near Varanasi, and so you see that there is some cold part and some warmer one, and we try to understand how all this works together. And the very last issue, we are also motivated to explore with some of our ecologists colleagues are to assess the biodiversity changes related to any change in temperature, whether it is warmer or colder, and put this in relation with the global health issues, including invasive species that can impact ecosystems, but also the human health and water quality improvement. So I thank you for your attention. We are very excited to develop such projects with our Indian colleague. And just to give you two examples of the riverscapes we can find within the Rhône hydrographic network. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, thank you, sir. This was audio record sent by Professor Harvey. Professor Harvey is the research director at the National Center for Scientific Research in Rivers in France. And yes, Professor Tare, I am audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so he is the research director at the National Center for Scientific Research in Lyon, and they have formed a network of this long-term ecological health monitoring of rivers in France. So on those lines, and as we are working closely, so on those lines only, we also envisaged some sort of that program in India. So that is just a submission to you. Yeah, now once again, hand it over to you, please.
Good, good. Thank you so much. And I think this is a very interesting model of bilateral collaboration, and we should encourage that. And particularly this twinning concept, that you take one river from this side and the other river from the other country, and draw the parallels, draw the differences, and learn what it is, what new things that we can get from such kind of studies, and that will help both the countries in a way. Okay, so that's a good, but all these kind of things are really long-term efforts. In fact, such programs should go on for a long time, because it does require to do such kind of research takes long time. So I think it is very good, and more and more institutes join in this effort. I think the program will expand. So it's a good start from IIT BHU side. Now I request Manu to give his initial remarks, and then we can see how we can take this forward. And of course, I request Manu to give his impression on what happened over the last 2 days, so that what we can take forward from there. Okay, so that's what is the idea here.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tare, and greetings to Dr. Prabhat Kumar Singh. Actually, the study of tributaries is very important, because if we improve the health of the tributaries, then the health of the main river, the higher order stream, that gets enhanced. So that's why tributaries are important in that context, and of course independently too. So now the point is that every tributary offers its own lessons. There are convergences and there are divergences. And if we look at some of the larger tributaries, they actually mirror some of the qualities of the higher order stream as well. So the question of base flow has been highlighted. And actually, we are now in a phase where we are beginning to consider flow as an important aspect. Till the last few years, pollution was what was getting the maximum attention. And it's only lately that we have begun to realize that without flow, talk about pollution. Pollution is actually something which has technical solutions. It can be handled over a period of time. There is adequate money to handle that. But restoration of flow, on which so many things related to the river depend. In fact, the river is nothing but flow. The restoration of flow is a far more difficult task, and the time horizon for that cannot be 2, 3, 4 years. It's going to take a very long time, because unless we are able to somehow restore the stream flow, the base flow, we are not going to have flowing streams around the year. I may also say that in the last 2 days, what I have been hearing is the use of river waters of other rivers in order to make anemic rivers flow. Now, this is somehow, to my mind, it does not seem quite correct that we should bleed one stream in order to make another flow. Each stream must flow on its own right. So this is my short impression. We got also several other technologies. One very interesting technology which was spoken about today was the electronic bombardment in which has been proposed in Assi. And of course, we'll all love to see what is going to be the outcome of this new technology to reduce pollution in the stream. I have asked for what are the costs related to the same, and then of course we'll get a better idea whether it's a really viable technology. So that is about my impressions for today. I was not there yesterday, so I cannot say very much about yesterday. But in fact, surprisingly, just in the early part of September this year, I was at Lyons and I saw the Rhone River. And it was such a beautiful stream, blue water flowing in copious quantities. So yes, while the collaboration is most likely going to take place, but our streams, which are monsoon fed, and those which are more regularly fed in like the European streams, they have a lot of differences. So we have to be careful as to what we will learn from them and what we won't. So with that, I would say this is my assessment of the day of today. And if permitted, I could go on to the end.
Thank you so much. So what I will attempt to do is to kind of recap on whatever has happened over the last two days. Particularly with respect to the talk on tributaries and more detailed on the river Assi and river Varuna. There are certain things we do realize now, there is no dispute on it. Everybody agrees that the flow as well as the quality aspects need to be looked at. Absolutely no doubt on that. Also, the quality by and large is affected by the human interventions, whether it is urbanization, industrialization, or some places agricultural activity where the pollutants are discharged or enter into the river system. And that of course has created problems. Okay. We cannot solve all the problems in a short term. So I think one important thing to me that comes in mind is we need to have patience in this, and the final river restoration, the way we want to see it, may take quite some time. And that is a very important aspect everybody has to understand. There are no quick fixes, there are no quick solutions, and there are no magics either. Whether you talk in terms of enhancing the flow, or you talk in terms of enhancing the quality of wastewater, quality of the water in the river. So that has to be understood. Also, we need to start from wherever, whatever can be done. Okay. But when we say that wherever, whatever can be done, it should be aligned with our long-term goals. That has to be important. It's not that the current steps that we take, the mini steps that we take, they should not be in contradiction or in violation with achieving the long-term objectives and goals. Whether it is in terms of restoring the base flows or in terms of making sure that all the wastewater that is going into the river is treated and appropriate quality, it enters into this. Okay. Another important thing that we are learning, that we have to now probably rethink on our concept of interception and diversion, because interception and diversion concept may have some gain in terms of the mainstream of the river, but so far as the tributaries are concerned, I think it either leaves the tributaries continue to be polluted and in the worst bad condition, or it leaves them dry. Okay, so none of these situations are acceptable to us. Okay, we have multiple issues and issues are known to everybody. I do not want to, and across the river, whether you take Varuna or you take Assi or you take Gomti or you take Ganga or even mainstream of Ganga for that matter, many of the issues are common. The degree and the extent may be different, but issues are common. So what we need to do is to start with some importance. And one of the things that I have realized, many of us have worked in our own capacity as individuals or in terms of a particular academic institution or an organization. But I think what is missing is our collective efforts. And it is very important that we start working together. If we don't do that, then nobody listens. Like, for example, we heard from Dr. Venkatesh, whatever efforts that he's doing, a great job, but it becomes difficult for an individual or only a few set of people to convince what needs to be done in long term and what needs to be done in short term and how we should move systematically. So that is one thing. And this is what I always have been saying, that we need to be very, very strong in terms of worshipping Saraswati. And that is the first thing, is creating all kinds of knowledge and information. And I was very happy to see that a substantial information which is prerequisite to talking about any river, particularly if you're talking about Assi or you're talking about Varuna or even Gomti for that matter, that attempt has started. But it is important that we take that forward. We take that forward. So one of the things that we can do is that information is properly utilized. And to do that, we need to have a kind of empowered group. Okay, and if that empowered group says something, all stakeholders should listen to. All concerned agencies should listen to. Now, this is not. It is easier said than done. Okay, it is not so easy to create such a kind of empowered committee where everybody will follow, whether it is district level government, district level administration, or local government, or state government, or even central government for that. It will take time. But first thing that we need to look at is what could be such a kind of empowered body, and can we show with example for one or two rivers. And to my opinion, there cannot be any good example than doing that for Varuna and Assi. So can we create some kind of suggestion or structure, whether we call it empowered group or whether we call it a basin authority or whether you call it committee. Let's not worry about the name. Okay, if the name of that committee creates a constitutional crisis, let's not stick to that. Okay, we have been talking, we all know, we have been talking about passing a law for the Ganga river, but it has not been possible. We have done so much of work at the national level, there was so much agitation, but it has not gone forward. And in my opinion, whatever experience I have, I don't think it will go further anymore. So instead of waiting for the law to pass, okay, let's start working to create that kind of environment so that ultimately, if everything is there on the ground, it starts working, and then eventually people will pass the law. Okay, so let's start bottom-up approach. So let's not worry about calling it as an authority, river basin authority, but we can give a whatever that you call it. The idea is this committee or group should have no vested interest. If at all there is a vested interest, it should only be in the river and nothing else, and nothing else. And that is where I suggest that if we can start a group or committee, whatever that you prefer, without waiting for any constitutional provisions, either by the local body or by the state or this thing, can we start such a kind of group, okay? And eventually we work in that group such a way that that group automatically, like I remember when I joined IIT Kanpur, for quite some time, I was not given an office. Then one of my senior colleagues told me, nobody will give an office. You have to grab it. Okay, you have to start doing something and grab it. I think this is what we should look at for this also. So we create a group. That group empowers itself with knowledge. Okay, if we start asking for money, yes, whatever money that is required, it should be only to the extent. If I say that if we have to worship Saraswati, yes, obviously I need some flowers, I need some mala. Okay, only that much money we should ask for, but our objective should always be to worship Saraswati. To that extent we should look for. And all the knowledge that we have, let's gather all kind of knowledge, and to the extent possible, keep it in digital form. So I think that is the first thing that we should look at. If it is possible, way forward, can we create a, let's not even worry about who will approve that group or whatever, but only criteria for constituting that group is people in that group should only and only have interest in the river. Okay, that is the only criteria. And of course, those who can contribute any kind of knowledge. But and that is where I say we have to differentiate between stakeholders and actors. There are many actors in Varanasi. Okay, so we have to be very careful. Actors are not necessarily stakeholders. Okay, actors may have business interest, actors may have interest to get their own funding or whatever. Okay, so we should keep away from that. So if we create a group which starts working, and already substantial work is done, so in my opinion, that's the first thing that we can look at. Okay, second thing that I have is then this particular group can collect all kinds of information, okay, which is available, and with that we can exercise our power, okay, because it is ultimately the knowledge which will give us the power, okay, to that group or that committee. So that is the second thing that I have. All the work that is presented today, okay, can we in the next 1 month, 2 months or whatever, come up with a digital compendium, okay, whatever information that is available, as much as possible in the digital form. If something is not available in the digital form, doesn't matter if it is PDF. PDF, I don't call it digital. Okay, digital means you have shape files, and the information can be used in a digital platform like GIS or whatever. Okay, so that is one thing. And I think once we have all that information, and never wait for everything being ready. Okay, it is impossible. This is a long term kind of thing. So this work will go on. So even committee formation also, it can always keep on revising it. No harm in that. So let's start with whatever we can, and if possible include all kinds of people. That is people from academics, people from district administration, people from state government, people from NGOs, okay? But nobody should have a kind of veto kind of thing, right? It should always be, criteria should always be to create a consensus. And if we restrict ourselves to knowledge, okay, and information, I don't think that there will be a complete this thing. We also have to realize what can be done on a short term and what can be done on a, we should not have very extreme views that this is not at all required or this alone can do everything. Okay, I think this is also a very important lesson that we have to do. Okay, so I am not of the opinion to say that the natural processes will not help. I'm also not of the opinion that STPs are not required. Okay, we have to think of a combination of the two. But one thing is very clear, that we have to go for as many small STPs or treatment facilities as against the centralized thing. Okay, like what Professor Chaudhary mentioned, yes, certain wrong things probably have been done. Okay, like in Assi, we have the sewer line probably going through the bed of the river. Okay, now let's not think of undoing that in the immediate thing. Maybe in long term, yes, it is required. Yes, it is required. But let's first do whatever that is possible. Okay, and then we can impress on the government. Yes, we have to go for reversal and we have to take out that pipeline from the river bed. But idea is basically, how do you make sure that the flow in the river is restricted? Yes, base flow is very important, but again, to work on the base flow, it's a very long-term issue. So let's not wait that unless the base flow thing is done, nothing will happen. Okay, let's start with whatever that can be done. And that is why I was first saying our first target should be to make sure that the aesthetics part is taken care of. So if we can take in short term, let's make sure that the aesthetic part of the river is taken care of. And I'm sure, and I think that is relatively easy to do that. And aesthetic means at least in appearance, the river looks okay. If I say no, right in the beginning, I should have a water quality which is potable or water quality which is bathable, I think we will defeat the long-term purpose. Okay. So first, if we can talk about aesthetics, I understand the river is in patches. Okay. There is also a issue from where does the river starts, and this is probably there for river like Assi. Okay, what is the real basin? How much? Let's start working on that. But wherever the river is seen, okay, let's assume that river is only 7-8 kilometers, and let's see whether we can. What can we do to that 7-8 kilometers? Yes, that doesn't mean I am accepting the fact that the river originates from much long distance and the basin is much bigger than what you are talking. But let's accept wherever the river is seen and start making sure that the aesthetics of the river is. And my opinion is, if we start doing that, then more and more people will join, because what you see is the first impression. Right? So if people see, yes, this river was, and if we can, through photographs, we can show that, yes, this river earlier was like this, such a filthy condition, such a dirty condition, nobody could even go close to it. Okay, if that situation is improved, I think we have just crossed the first milestone. Okay, and that will help us in impressing on the government or all stakeholders that yes, rivers can be changed. Okay, so let's not keep the long-term target right in the beginning. That this committee should simultaneously work on first is making sure that we create all the knowledge, and if we need to do this, I'm even prepared to say, let's say, can we prepare a cell for Assi, river Assi and river Varuna, and a group for river Assi as well as for a group this. Whether we call it cell or center of excellence, it's a very different kind of thing. But let's start with a very, very small this thing, so that nobody envies us. The moment we start that I'm trying to make big thing, center of excellence, everybody's then start looking at, oh, what will be my share? What will be my role? Okay. But if you start with responsibility, then it's a different thing. So let's say we make a small group, let's say we make a small cell and start working through that. Okay. And I'm even prepared, we can even support that from Ganga side. So we can create a cell for, let's say, Varuna river, cell for Assi river, create a core group of academics and other things. And like we have seen, we have administrators, we have this, and let's use all their wisdom together. And let's fix up what can be done in short term, what can be done in long term, both for quality as well as quantity. At the same time, what should be our long term objective? That is, so long term objective is to ensure that we completely understand the basin. Okay, whether we go for to history, to use the mythological information, or to use the remote sensing information or historical information, whatever that is. With that, we try to construct what really was the basin and what was the total length of the river. And we will realize, yes, the river is broken into number of things. And in some places, it may not even be possible to make that connection at all. Okay, so we will figure it out how it can be done. And when the rest of the portion in parts also, if you are able to recover the river, then I am sure automatically there will be a case that yes, this patch which is encroached, we need to remove. Then let's not target removal of encroachment right at the first thing. If we start doing that, we'll create more enemies. And my experience is, if you have adverse groups, nowhere we go. Okay, so it has to be main focus should be consensus build up rather than creating this, and we all should forget our own egos. That I understand only, nobody else understand anything. Ecology is the only important thing. The STPs are not important thing. Okay, our septic tanks are the only solution. STPs are not solution. Our bioremediation is the only solution. Others are not. We should welcome wherever, whatever is appropriate. Okay, that should be the idea. Then we will be able. Also, nobody should be having this kind of thing that I know everything. Okay, so whosoever contributes whatever knowledge, let's keep them together. Okay, and at least that is what we can do in the academic institutions, where I always again and again emphasizing our worshipping should be to Saraswati, and Lakshmi should be very, very less in terms of whatever is required to worship Saraswati, that is to create. And I think if you are able to do that, we should be able to. And the treatment concept also, yesterday also I elaborated. I think we can go step by step. First locate, and I was very happy to see in the map also, which was presented, data that there are a lot of open spaces available. So let's utilize that, and let's make sure where we can create connection between various water bodies. There are ponds that are mapped. There are open spaces that are mapped. So let's apply our wisdom collectively and do together. Again, if you make the plan of an individual, there will be people who will oppose it. So if you can make collective plan, that alone will help it. And that is where I'm saying, forget about all our differences. Let's keep everybody together, and we should be able to speak in one voice, that this is what needs to be done in short term, and this is what needs to be done in the long term. And this is possible for all rivers, whether it is Hindon River, whether it is Gomti River, whether it is Varuna and Assi, or many such kind of small. And this is what we are there. And if we can find some eminent people, okay, who are respected, I do not even want to create a differentiation between no, we will exclude politician or we will exclude this set of people. Whosoever are more acceptable to the local society at large, I think we should make him the overall chair or whatever that is there. So I'm not talking about any person, but I'm only talking about the criteria. He or she should be an eminent person and acceptable to most. And people are ready to work with such a kind of person in a group. That if we keep in mind, I think it will work. And that person can kind of direct the cell that I'm talking about for doing all kinds of work. So in a way, what I'm saying is we are creating our own governance structure, okay? And if that governance structure as a successful model is shown, I think it will automatically get into law and get accepted. People will start replicating, and this is what we want. If for every tributary such kind of structure is made with an empowered thing, a group and knowledge about it, I don't think anybody will not listen in this. Right now, our main concern is people do not listen because our knowledge is not proper and we are not together. Okay.
Professor Tare, sir, Dr. Manu has to leave for some reasons. So can we invite him so that he can?
Sure. Yes, Professor Dr. Manu.
Yeah, thank you. I hope my presentation is visible. I hope my presentation is visible.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll be speaking about the Hindon River and a basin approach which can be taken and which may apply to many more tributaries. So first and foremost, basin management has been spoken about in all the national policies and even in some of the state level policies which have been made. But on the ground, there are neither basin management organizations, nor is there any basin management approach. The Central Water Commission has a concept of master plans, but those master plans are basically regarding the hydrology, how much water is available, where it can be milked from the river, and where it can be extracted. On the other hand, a basin approach, in my view, should mean what is on the screen. We have an inflow of resources and we have an outflow which we may term as the expenditure. Now, basically, we have only one source generally, that is either rainfall or precipitation or other surface inflow, maybe in some cases from snow melt. But there are losses also of evaporation. There may be unused resources lying around, and there may be in a basin some imports from other basins. On the expenditure side, we have irrigation, we have domestic water use, we have industrial water use, there are evaporative losses, and then in some cases there may be exports to other basins. Now, can we balance these and still leave something adequate flow for the river? Adequate flow for the river itself is an ambiguous term, but it needs to be defined. Now, we have tried to put this approach in more detail in a monograph, which is the cover page of which is shown over here. And in basins, we have to consider many more factors. We have to see the changing climate, the soil conditions, the topography, the land use, land cover, forest cover, biodiversity, all these things. I come to Hindon, and again, Hindon has been in the news because pollution, especially that generated from various industrial units, and coming closer towards Yamuna, the domestic. Yes, please.
It is in the panel view. Can you make it in a full screen mode?
I have on my side. It's a full screen mode.
Is it like that?
Yes.
No, you have to keep it in the slide mode.
We are seeing all the slides.
Okay, so I'll just put it in the slide mode. So now can you see it?
Yeah, now it is individual.
In the presentation mode, if you can make it in the slideshow mode.
I'm putting it in the full screen mode now. Can you see the full screen mode?
No.
So I'll just go back to the individual slide mode. I
Okay.
think that is the best we can do at this point of time.
My request and submission to you is many of these things are very common and are talked about on many platforms. So if you can talk in the from point of view of what is the takeaway from here, okay? So we have such kind of similar information for all rivers, even Hindon River as well, okay? And in fact, recently there was a Indo-Dutch call, and 3 projects, and all the 3 projects are focused on Hindon only. How to create more information.
Well, you may have seen those presentations, others may not. But if that's so,
Its idea
very well then. Thank
is
you.
not to talk about a specific basin, but
Okay, thank
in
you.
general, what should be the way forward for the tributaries.
Why did we speak about Gompi? Why are we going to speak about Ram Ganga?
No, we have not spoken. We have very briefly just talked about.
Okay, Professor Tare, thank you. I'll stop my presentation here. Thank you.
So, do you have any views on what is the way forward?
Something on River Tapti. Can you talk for 2 minutes?
Okay, I think Manu Bhatnagar has left. I try to kind of give a compilation of what is the way forward. And if you have other views from the audience or those who are participating, we can, and that will help us to chalk out what is the way forward. Prabhat, so are there other people who would like to speak?
Sir, Dr. Professor Govind Pandey from Gorakhpur, he has joined.
Yes.
And yeah, he was part of presentation for River Tapti. So, Professor Govind Pandey, are you there? Professor Pandey? Professor Pandey? You just joined back. Yeah, he's joining, and he will take 2-3 minutes to present the situation of River Tapti. And yes, as we were talking, there are general things, but then my submission is that as an academic institution, as researchers, do we need to go further? For example, as you told, Ram Ganga, there are action plan going on from the government side and from all other, concerned agencies. So should we feel as a society, yes, things are going in the right direction, and we are convinced now, for the time being, we don't need to worry about that. So that is one question which comes to my mind. And similarly, as Professor Govind Pandey will share, as a scientific community or concerned citizen of the country, should we worry something, or should we start thinking something for river this Tapti? So what is that? And do we invite suggestions from other corners? So Professor Govind Pandey.
I'm heartily grateful, Dr. for giving me some time. In fact, I'm joining with this mobile. Sometimes some calls are getting, and therefore it is getting interrupted. I hope you are able to hear us.
Yes, we are able to hear.
So what happened that I belong to this eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, being Gorakhpur. And for the past several years, we have been working on the status of water quality and the status of sewage treatment and the industrial wastewater treatment in the region, which is having an impact on the water quality of Rapti River, as well as one of its major tributaries, Ami River. We had lot many observations regarding the worsening of the water quality over the years, and under our own observations and efforts, there is an industrial area, Gita industrial area, which is contributing the industrial effluent to river Ami, which is a tributary to river Rapti. And at the downstream point of the effluent discharge point,
Something not wrong with the network. Mr. Tare, are you listening? Is it audible?
No, it is not audible. I think there is some internet issue, interruption. So I think we will do the things parallelly. When he joins, we will give him the opportunity till he is able to get in. We will continue our discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So if at all, as and when we see him, we will stop our discussion and we will give him the opportunity. Okay. So I think the point that you have made is very valid. That was saying that no basin plan as of now is something that we can say is acceptable. Okay. So and the reason for that is there is not enough information and knowledge the way it should be, the resolution at which it should be is available. And that is where I said parallelly, if we create a group, that group's job is to continue to do that kind of work. And eventually, the plans that the government agencies or any other agency for that matter are doing will align with what this group is saying or recommending. Okay, so that should be the approach, in my opinion. We neither criticize any of the government's plan or actions, nor we also kind of say that everything is fine. Okay, we continue to say what exactly needs to be done on a short-term basis, long-term basis, medium-term basis, with knowledge base, and create more and more information in the digital form as much as possible. So this has to go parallel. We are not saying we will wait. Neither we can ask the government to stop all the work till we give you the basis. So none of these approaches are going to work. And that's where I am suggesting that we need to follow a middle path. And from academic institutions, we can take the lead in creating that kind of information base. And if you recall, the Director General in the first inaugural session also said that, yes, we don't know about tributaries at all. Even though we have started making the plan, we have approved the concept of quality as well as quantity, e-flows, okay? But then we need to give quantitative information for all these small tributaries, and that is where the open spaces are, where the STPs can be planned. We say decentralized STPs, but where exactly STPs, how much flow can be diverted there, how do we move from what we have done wrong to correct it. Okay, so all that solutions should be part of the agenda of this working group. Okay, what could be the government structure, who should do what, who should pay for creating the databases, all that kind of thing is something which requires fair. And this is, in my opinion, we are taking up a bottom-up approach for setting up the basin authorities. Okay, this is as Dr. Manu Bhatnagar also mentioned, that river basin authorities, they have their own concept, like CWSU has its own, but we as a group can create a completely different scenario for local level river basin. And if you start calling basin authority, nobody will accept it. So let's not get conflict with the names and do that. So we can give a very humble name, if I can say so, and so that we don't create adversaries to what we are doing. That was my comment. If there are others who want to contribute, most welcome. Prabhat, you can coordinate that because you know it better who is online and who would like to speak.
Professor CSP Ojha has perhaps raised his hand.
Okay, so you can give him the chance.
Professor Ojha. Professor Ojha, really, did you raise your hand or it was by mistake something? Nowadays, online things are very difficult. Once somebody on move, sometimes it comes. Yes, perhaps. Professor Govind Pandey? Professor Govind Pandey, have you come back? Professor Govind Pandey, or perhaps there was some issue with him. So he will say, sir, what I feel, I will collect 1-2 pager note.
Yes.
My basic idea is to at least accept the challenges we have as on today.
Yes.
And then take some, kind of what, in which way, including the research. For example, I very often go to many engineering colleges or institutions for MTech or PhD examinations. And there we are invited to give our thoughts on research program. So if we know some of the challenges, possibly it can be helpful to us, or maybe for our own students to give the real existing challenges in the society on which we need to work. So that was the idea, to collect information on these tributaries of River Ganga. Yeah.
That is what I'm saying. So this group can create an agenda for small research jobs, okay, or what kind of information. And then if you make that readily available, then depending upon the capacity and the time that is available to that institute or to individual group or whatever, we can say, okay, yes, this I can do it. And that gets pulled up into the larger system. So they also feel, yes, my work has been acknowledged, and this goes on. So that is the idea. That is what as an academic institution we can do. And then I'm sure administration will also be ready to, if we have all the information, knowledge, we tell them that this is what can be done there, this is what can be done there, isn't it? In pieces. If we start talking about the entire basin plan, in my opinion, nobody has the capacity or authority to talk about the entire basin plan at one go. Okay, it will evolve over a period of time. And this is what I'm saying. If we can create a group, and that group eventually becomes a local authority for that particular basin. And all such authorities together can form the Ganga Basin Authority in time to come. This is what I'm saying. So we are trying to create a governance structure starting from different pillars. So start building all the pillars, and then on those pillars, the bottom-up structure can be built up. Okay, both from knowledge point of view as well as from the governance point of view.
Yeah. So I think
Professor
Govind Pandey joined. Professor Govind Pandey, you are not audible. Professor Pandey.
I am sorry, there was an internet interruption at my end.
No problem.
It was
no problem. You can go ahead. You can go ahead with your thoughts on your river Rapti.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So, what I was bringing to the knowledge of this August gathering was that what we have seen for the river Rapti and its tributary river Ami, that both of these rivers have been severely victimized by the industrial pollution or the municipal pollution. And in fact, for river Ami, we have been very active for the past, you can say 13-14 years. And out of our efforts, we have been able to convince the Gita administration, including the government of UP, to establish a common effluent treatment plant of 51 MW capacity. However, it is still in planning phase, and I hope that within a year or two, the CTP may come up. However, because of, and that too for the half of its capacity, because they needed about 75 crores, and because of the lack of funds, NMCT declined to give any funds on the ground that the river doesn't form the main stream of river Ganga. So they are able to manage somehow 37.5 crores. Therefore, they are putting up a CTP of half the capacity that has been calculated. So same thing is true for river Rapti also. The entire wastewater of municipal corporation of Gorakhpur, that joint river Rapti is even now untreated. The municipal corporation of Gorakhpur has put up the proposal to the government for funding for the sewage treatment plants, which is yet to be approved. So, what I have been observing as an academician here is that in spite of every willingness of the people here, in spite of the efforts being made by the local administration, due to the lack of funds for the pollution control, for putting up the pollution control facilities, the quality of river water is still in the same state, and maybe it is worsening. So my personal observation and appeal to this August gathering is that we should through this forum recommend, if possible, that some funding mechanism should be put up with the state government, who could on the proposal submitted by the local bodies, could expedite the approval or sanctioning of the projects with funding without any delay. Otherwise, what happens that the DPR is ready, the proposal is pending with the government, but due to the lack of funding mechanism, the project cannot start, and therefore the state of the river water quality is same. It is rather not same, but rather worsening day by day. So there should be somehow, if you could impress upon the regulatory mechanism or the government mechanism to put certain funds on priority for such projects. In fact, what we have seen over the years is that everyone shows a very high concern for the pollution control and the protection of the environment as such. But when it comes to the real implementation, we have seen many times that initially we face certain inertia from the mechanism, maybe the government mechanism or the mechanism of the local bodies. But even if we are somehow through our own efforts able to do away with that inertia, when it reaches the decision making level, we do not have any suitable option to approach, so that the well thought of and you can say the much required proposals related to the proposals, either in the form of STP for the municipal corporation like Gorakhpur, or in the form of CTP for Gida industrial area, which could protect the water quality of the river Rapti and river Ami to a great extent. I think we will not be able to improve upon this scenario in near future unless we are somehow significantly able to impress upon the government regulatory mechanism on this issue. And one thing that I also want to add to this is that we have been in fact writing that also, that maybe certainly these rivers may not form the main stem of river Ganga, and therefore these do not fall under the funding pattern of NMCG. But even then, these rivers are contributing the flow to the main stem of river Ganga, maybe as a tributary. And when the flow joins the main stem, then the pollution that is flowing into these rivers also joins there. So somehow, I think maybe if possible through NMCG, some provision should be made for such rivers. And I must say that Rapti or Rami are not alone. There are many more rivers in the country, elsewhere also, which need greater attention from the point of view of the pollution control. So that is what I wanted to bring it the notice of this August gathering of scholars.
Thank you, Professor Govind Pandey. Yes, Sir, Professor Tare, I mean, it's over to you.
So I think I have given whatever impression I got. If there are more, because we have to see the time also. We are already closing to very close to 5:30 or so. So how much time we can continue?
With your permission, Professor Tare, with your permission, Professor Chaudhary has some a small question from you.
Sure.
बोलिए ना सर, बोलिए सुनाई देगा.
My question is that why STP on the land area, on the bank of the Ganga, concave bank of the Ganga, why not STP on the sand? Govind Sharma, Govind Pandey has raised the question which is related with this. Different rivers are facing the problems of pollution. Ganga pollution problem at Varanasi has become very acute because STPs are located on the bank. Assi Ghat is extremely polluted. Bhagwanpur treatment plant is located on the bank. Total pollutant load. We are knowing that STP is only solving the problem of organic load, partially solving, enhancing the microbiological loads several thousand times. And that is not the location from energy consideration to dispose of the so-called treated pollutants from STP on the Assi Ghat. Pandey Sahab has asked the same question. Different rivers are facing the problem of pollution because STP is not located, not capable to treat the organic, to treat the total pollutant load of the pollutants. Therefore, why not? Theory of three gradients has been given. You might have read that theory. Why not pollutant loads are partially treated by sandbag, solar energy and filtering potential of the sandbag? Why not STPs are located on the sandbag? You are not considering, I have heard you lecture several times, you are simply qualifying, qualitatively explaining, but you are not saying under what dynamic condition pollutants should be located, what pollutants should be disposed of, where, how much and how. Energy considerations you are not taking. You are hypothetically discussing many things which are not relevant with the river energy. I want to have answer from you in terms of river energy, its location, potential energy, kinetic energy variation, and sandbag energy. In terms of these energies, you can solve the problems of all types of pollutant problems. Thank you, sir.
Well, I appreciate your question, and I think you are right. And this is where I said that this concept of interception and diversion we need to shift. Okay, and this is what I said. Why we are in a position? Why we are forced to create STPs very close to the river or on the banks of the river, because we followed this concept of interception and diversion. And that is where I said that we need to decentralize. And this STP should be created very close to where the sewage is generated, rather than close to the river or river beds or any pond for that matter. And to my mind, what you talked about septic tank and soap pit, septic tank and soap pit is also one kind of STP only. So I am not saying that is not required, but what I'm saying is we need to have wherever whatever is applicable. This is what I am saying, and that we need to come out with, because we have never been able to get information at the micro level. We have never been able to say, okay, these many STPs are a treatment system, whether it is natural or mechanical or septic tank plus soap pit. All are, in my opinion, all are part of STPs. All are part of STPs, or even the bigger aeration tank and other things that we see. So I am not promoting a particular kind of thing. I always say it is the combination, and we have to make sure that a combined treatment, that is partly maybe septic tank, if that is what is applicable, soap pit. And if you look at wetlands, what are wetlands? Wetlands in a way are part of the soap pit only. Okay, the water flows through them, gets filtered, not only mechanical filtration, but also biological filtration. So I am open, and this is what I am saying. We have to move away from our present concept of centralized STPs, location of STPs very close to the river or river bed. We have to move away from that. Okay, but whatever is created, we cannot reverse the situation in day. So why not, wherever nothing is done, we start with this concept, okay, and prove that yes, it can be done. And then there will be takers for this kind of thing. And we can say that, see, your big STPs, you have spent so much money, are not really sustainable, cannot work. And these small systems are the one which we are showing it. Local people are able to manage it. They themselves are spending money on that or resources on that, and it is more sustainable. And that is how we also create a larger group to be the owner of the river and entire project in general.
Sir, can I?
One question. Yeah, Ganga SMCG. Ganga SMCG.
Yeah.
They want to ask something.
Sure.
Are you there?
सर नमस्कार सर.
Yes,
please.
सर ये डॉक्टर गोविंद पांडे सर ने जो रिगार्डिंग द गोरखपुर सीटीपी के बारे में बताया ना सर, कि एनएमसी लेवल पर पेंडिंग है ये वाला प्रोजेक्ट है ना, सो अंडर कंसिडरेशन है. लेकिन मेरा एक जनरल एज ए सिंपल क्वेश्चन है सर, कि सीवरेज जनरेट होता है, सीवरेज जनरेशन के बाद में सीवरेज का जो टैक्स कौन वसूल करता है? लोकल म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन वसूल करता है ना सर टैक्स. तो व्हाई लोकल सिटीजन इज प्रेशर टू लोकल म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन फॉर द ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ द सीवेज सर? क्योंकि ये ऑलरेडी कहते हैं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, नेशनल सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट क्यों उसका फंडिंग अरेंजमेंट नहीं करते. लेकिन आप एज ए गोरखपुर शहर में है, गोरखपुर शहर का जितना भी सिटी का जो सीवरेज का है टैक्स है, वो कौन? लोकल बॉडीज, लोकल बॉडीज उसको टैक्स वसूल करता है ना सर. तो लोकल बॉडीज रिस्पॉन्सिबल द सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट जो जनरेट करने के बाद में जो टैक्स वसूल करेगा, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का.
Can I get a minute to add to what
मेरा सर एक सजेशन है कि लोकल सिटीजन नॉट इनिशिएट द proper monitoring and proper implementation of the any treatment plant. तो भी उसको प्रॉपर्ली करने के लिए उसमें इन्वॉल्व होना पड़ेगा. गवर्नमेंट अपना एक्सपर्टीज कर दे, लेकिन आपको एक लीडरशिप में आना पड़ेगा. बनारस में जो प्रॉब्लम है, बनारस में इतने सारे इंस्टीट्यूट हैं, नॉट रेजिंग द क्वेश्चन टू म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन व्हाई सीवेज इज गोइंग टू गंगा या वरुणा एंड असरी रिवर. तो लोकल सिटीजन, लोकल इंस्टीट्यूट टू बी इनिशिएटेड फॉर द सीवेज, क्योंकि लोकल आपका जो टैक्स है इज कलेक्टिंग, हु इज कलेक्टिंग योर टैक्स. Thank you, sir.
You have a valid point, and this is what our aim is to make sure that the local bodies are empowered, they are capable both governance-wise as well as financially. And the fact that NMCG and this central program started, it was just to initiate, but somehow that has given the impression that it is all the responsibility of the state government and the national government to keep on funding all kinds of STPs. And this is where we need to make sure that in times to come, we move away from this concept. And you're right, the local government is collecting some taxes, but those taxes are very, very less. They are not enough to generate that level of resource. So I think this is where we have to merge from both sides. We have to accelerate this process, bottom-up approach, and till that time, keep on supporting from the top. Okay, and somewhere middle path we will go. That is the ultimate thing, and this is what we are working on. What I suggested, that we start moving decentralized way, create small things, and a lot of efforts are wasted because we don't have a proper information. Okay, and I'm sure whatever STPs, why there is so much criticism about STPs, because the STPs are created, the wastewater doesn't flow there, the STPs don't function, or their operation and that is why we have so much adverse reaction to the concept of STP. And that way, I think we are not utilizing the knowledge properly. So somewhere we have to find a middle path, not going to the both extremes. Leave it to the local bodies, or depend completely on the state government or the central government. And this is where we have such kind of conferences where we are trying to establish a mechanism how we can move from present approach to the next approach.
Sir, may I get a minute? Just a minute to add.
I don't want to make this into a debate of this kind, but yes, you have all the right to respond to. Please, very briefly. Yes, Dr. Govind Pandey, please go ahead. You are not audible, either you are mute or...
Okay. Now I have unmuted myself, sir.
Yes.
Sir, while I appreciate and fully endorse your kind proposal for decentralized treatment of wastewater, I think if that is done, that will pave the way to the cleaning of rivers to a very high extent in concept and reality. On the other hand, what I wanted to request this expert forum, that in spite of, as I said earlier, in spite of all our efforts, because of the lack of funds, the projects are not able to start. Pollution control project like STP or CTP are not able to start. When we see the functioning of the financial mechanism, we find that every year there is a budget allocation for education, for basic education, for forest, for health. Every sector has a budget allocation, and when that budget allocation is made, all throughout the year, whenever there is a demand, the fund is given from that allocated budget. Can't we make a resolution and emphasize on government to have a budget, or make it a part of budget, which may be in the head of wastewater management and pollution control, that the government will have this much of budget for this year. And whenever there is a project submitted by any local bodies, they are not rich. Many of the local bodies are suffering from the deficiency of funds. So whenever a local body approaches with a convincing project of pollution control or wastewater treatment, that could be funded from that allocated budget. So if the budget is allocated, I think that would
others are also
the way for.
Please.
So that is what I want.
This is not the place for budget allocation, I think. This is not the place for budget allocation. We can discuss it separately. We can discuss it separately. Thank you.
Okay.
No, I am not
I have also
saying this is the place for budget only. I am saying that we can take it as a part of
Thank you.
communication.
Please, let us come to our discussion. And before I go to this, ask Shri Kishore Jati, I will add one point, sir. Professor Tare, I will add one point. There has been many criticism on that, STPs and all. I have been an engineer for 17 years, and then the next 17 years I have spent in academics. Let me very clearly say, engineers are not the enemies of the nation. They are not very bad elements. They are our trained manpower who designs the things as the conditions are given to them. So, as for example, Professor Chaudhary is saying, why not on river bed or sand bed? Engineers are given the land as allotted by the society. Engineers do not invent it. So this is not the choice of the engineers. This is the choice of the society where it gives the land. So if the, river bed or sand bed is the right choice, it is the society to who has to decide that. It is not the engineers. Engineers are assigned a job. Who has to do this job? I have been in touch with many of the engineering organizations, and they accept, yes, there are limitations, but then we have to understand their problems also. So what I wanted to add here, that let us see the perspective of engineering community also, under which constraint they are working. And let us accept them as a part of this system who are helping us.
Prabhat, this is what I said. The idea of creating this group is to have everybody included. Okay? And what you said rightly, that it is the local body has to identify where is the place, which part of the sewage should go, how much space can be provided by, and that information, once it is created, I don't think engineers will say, no, we don't want to do that way. It will never be like that. Okay, so that is what I'm saying. So we have to, as you said, engineers are also working for the nation. Other people are also working for the nation. Only thing is, we live in our own silos and do not try to appreciate and understand the issues or constraints under which the other party is working. Okay, and that is where I said, if we work through knowledge, and knowledge means what? Actual information, where the land is available, where how much sewage is generated, where how much flow is there, where how much groundwater table is, what kind of flow, what direction, isn't it? If that information is available, isn't it? Like I was very happy when Dr. Raju presented. Where do we have such kind of information for other places? Tell me. You know, and because that information is not available, and who gives the funds for that, creating that kind of information? Nobody gives the funds. And this is what I'm saying, this is only probably 1 or 2% of the entire expenditure that is required. But because that does not give you immediately anything, nobody is ready to pay for it. And that is what I'm saying. If we, instead of asking for big funds, let's work on small things and create an example. Then I'm sure automatically people will give. People will give if you are producing results out of it, in creating information out of it, creating knowledge, and are able to bring in and that's the approach. That is the tributary approach that we are talking about. And can we set 1 or 2 examples? And what can be, that's what I said, what can be better than Varuna or Assi? It can then be simultaneously taken for other groups, because then we will widen our base of people who can work on various things. But individual, if he gets a plan or makes a plan, that plan always can be there. But if it is a group, an empowered group, and empowered not necessarily by the authority, but by knowledge. Okay, so if we empower this group by knowledge, by information, I'm sure everybody will accept that kind of thing. And that's the direction in which I do not want to elaborate on small technological issues are here that we can have always debate. And it is case specific, situation specific. That's the point that I wanted to make.
Sri Jha, do you have a quick
Yes.
anything to ask
Yeah,
before
yeah,
we
yes.
conclude? Yes.
I wanted to thank Mr. Tare. We were trying to connect with him, our Assi revival group. Whatsoever he is telling, we have already since last 2 years. We are working on that, and Mr. P.K. Singh is also a group member of that group, and we will be expecting that Ganga actively participating in that, and we will take up the this tanneries zero discharge also along with your Sea Ganga, so that Ganga is along with the Assi river we have achieved, and we are going to achieve participation and from all over world international. We I am thankful to PK Singh. You expected Sri Ganga to
और ये
actively
discussion
participate
ये
in
सब technical
that group.
discussion हो जाएगा.
Okay, thank you.
हाँ, अभी थोड़ी हाँ आ जाओ नीचे आ जाओ.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion. I am sure we will take it up. Dr. Prabhat Kumar Singh, I think we have discussed many of the things, and it is now for us to organize it and put it properly. I see Ajit Vidyarthi joining. Ajit,
Sir, namaskar, sir.
Do you have any point to make?
No, sir. I am just listening, sir, and I love to listen you, sir, always. So thank you, sir. Sir, I am here since afternoon, and unfortunately I could not join yesterday and in the forenoon also because of the official engagement, sir. So I am listening, sir, since afternoon, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So Prabhat, you can just close from your side, and I think we have got all the points that were necessary, and maybe we can first make a first draft, refine it, and then finalize it accordingly.
That's very good, sir. This is what. So I thank everyone who has participated, including Vidyarthi ji, who I expected very rich information from him, because he is the person who has been dealing with this pollution aspect and all plans and programs which is underway. But thank you very much, sir. The real getaway from this 2 days discussion is that enough data. If we work in a focused way, scientific data is available, and at least for starting the work. And the only required thing is that perhaps the academia is not well connected with the government organizations or the agencies which are working for that. So what I will request through you, via you, that these academic systems, including IITs, we have rich wealth of information, and so it can be connected, it should be used. So academic institutions should be a part of the decision-making process. Wherever it is, for example, if it is done for Varanasi, let us give a few days time, let us discuss it on academic level, let us include at least 1-2 people from the academic, so that he remains connected, and if he is not that knowledgeable, possibly in academics still we have that much of grit and honesty, that we recommend the right person who can be the right resource for that. So you will definitely appreciate that everyone from all academic institutions who are working in the river system or water quality, they are keenly interested, and they are watching towards us. And you are at the top of the apex. Professor Tare, everybody knows Professor Tare, and everybody wants to communicate something from his feeling. So you have a great responsibility, and definitely I'm working on your behalf, and I'm working in this part of the country, this part of the region. So we have started this journey, taking the tributaries, and our mission keeps on going. We will try to summarize whatever recommendations have come, and there are people who are talking about no STPs, localized, zero waste, and home-based solution and everything. Yes, and I fully agree with you. Let us not take extreme views. These are social issues, and society has its own science to move. So let us recommend and let us accept what is doable. And one final thing which I would like to say, Shri Vidyarthi, Dr. Vidyarthi is here. I'm seeing a scenario where if the work as it has been proposed in River Assi, if all drains are intercepted and pumped out, there will not be any flow. So as a concern, as a concern for the flow, the groundwater flow should be enriched or base flow should be enhanced. Those things are there. But what I wish and what we have worked out, there should be a flow in River Assi. So with those kind of flagged concerns, we have to work together, and possibly we have greater chances right now in working on Varuna. Assi is already under endangered condition, and we have to work very deeply. Commissioner Manrega will be visiting us in Varanasi. We are inviting him so that we can coordinate with him whatever data we have. And in the meantime, I will request you to be a part of this guiding team where we can work closely and take advantages of your experiences in working towards that. So I will summarize everything, and you have very correctly told that we should try to, digital compendium for the rivers and water bodies. We will be working towards that. And towards the end, before I stop, I will say, and I like to share with others, this international conference which we have organized for 2 days, and the third day will be tomorrow. We will be, those who have come from NMCG and other organizations to Varanasi, we will be visiting some critical sites on Varuna and Assi, including these 3 days. This has been a zero budget conference. This is a model for you and for all of us. As per your advices, I took this challenge to concentrate on River Varuna and River Assi, and didn't go for any funding agency to ask any money from them. And we have lived to your expectations. Now to you, once again, back to you. Thank you from my side.
Thank you. I think it has been a great thing. And I think why we have earned respect for this conference is only because of this. We did not ask from anybody, and everybody contributed to it. And that's the model that I want, that in future times to come, we should have minimum budget and maximum output. What our Prime Minister says, maximum governance, minimum government. Okay. So that is the kind of thing. We deliver more and ask for less. And if we do that, automatically people will give us more than what we require. And I have an impression even NMCG is now convinced about it. And I'm sure they have agreed now. And I suggested to them that create this kind of cells everywhere in the country. Okay, for very, very small tributaries. And you will see in times to come, this is made effective on ground as well. And we will take it forward. We have the next month, next to next month, the India Water Impact Summit, and we are again focusing there only on small rivers, regional planning, local planning, and how we take this, whatever discussions we have taken further onto the national and international scene on this. So with this note, I would like to thank on behalf of Sea Ganga, and I really appreciate the efforts and the spirit with which we have done, and I think we should continue that spirit. And this should be the way. People should not have an impression that in academics people only ask for funds and publish, and they are not practical about it. Okay, so we have to change that impression, and this was a small attempt in that direction. and I'm thinking to some extent we have succeeded in creating that impression that yes, we can bring all kinds of people, all sides. We are not biased. We are open. We do not want to take extreme positions. We realize the complexities. We understand whatever is doable, start doing that, show the results, and then long-term things will automatically happen. So with that, I once again congratulate you and your team, and you will see probably in times to come that we are able to multiply our efforts on this particular issue. Thank you very much.
So nice. Thank you. Thank you everyone who joined, and we wish to close it here now. So anyone who has some issues, everyone is welcome to send me a short note or any report kind of thing which he wants to share, and we will be in touch for the onwards also. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.